In today's first reading and second reading from the letter of James, it's interesting because he talks about being patient until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient until it receives the early and late rains. You too must be patient. Make your hearts firm because the coming of the Lord is at hand. One of the things that Father Francis Martin, who is a priest of the Archdiocese who passed a few years back, he said that, when he thinks about patience in this particular reading, he brings him back to 1 Corinthians, where it says, love is patient, love is kind. And I thought that was a great example because when we think about patience, it's really saying that, what you want is valid. It's not just about me. It's not just about what I want, my needs. I want it now. I want to do it when I want to do it. No, when being patient allows the other person to do it at their time. And so in the case of the Lord, it would be one thing to say, Lord, everything is getting screwed up these days. Everything is just going crazy. Come on back. But being patient is one that says, well, if it allows others who have not yet come to the Lord to have that time to come to the Lord, then we can allow us to be patient. We can have that same patience because we want to love as the Lord loves. In the gospel, what we have is that we have something very interesting because we go from kind of the birth of Jesus to the middle of his, or not the middle, but maybe the first third of his public ministry. John the Baptist is in prison, and John the Baptist sends emissaries. Are you the one who is to come, or do we look for another? Now, some would say, early church fathers have said that it's not John the Baptist who has doubts. It's just that he wanted to allay the doubts of those who were around him. So he sent them to the Lord Jesus. Some would say certainly he has reason to have some questioning because here he is in prison. He did what was right. He said, if you are going to live as a Jew, you think that you're the governor of the Jews, and yet you are taking your brother's wife as your own. That is immoral, that is unacceptable. So he did what was right, but he's being punished for it and now is languishing in prison. So it's be easy for any of us to say, well, wait a minute, you're opening the eyes of the blind, you're doing all these things, but yet, where I'm here, come get me. So it would be that way. So what Jesus does is that he doesn't tell them that he is the Messiah. He doesn't say, oh yeah, I am, it's me, But what he does is that he goes back to Isaiah. He goes back to the prophecies of Isaiah. He says the blind regain their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have the good news preached to them, and blessed is the one who takes no offense in me. So really, when we think about John the Baptist, there are certainly the religious leaders didn't necessarily like John the Baptist. They came to John the Baptist with kind of a curiosity, and he called them a brood of vipers. The government leaders didn't necessarily like John the Baptist because he would speak it the way it was. He would tell them the truth, whether or not they wanted to hear it or not. And even though in the Gospel of Luke, it says that all were coming out to see John, so you can imagine a 30-mile backup, from Jerusalem out to the Jordan River. Jesus says that, that many did not like John the Baptist. He was too ascetical, he was just too much, but they didn't like him because he wasn't ascetical enough. But the people, it'd be easy for us to think about the fact that the people would say, well, he's just too odd. He's out there eating locusts and wearing funny clothes. He's just too odd. Or we just don't like what he's saying. We don't want to hear that message. Or, we don't like the company he keeps. He's keeping the company of public sinners, and the tax collectors and those who are public sinners are there coming into the Jordan. I wouldn't want to be with them. I might get cooties if I'm with them. So it would be easy for us to think about the fact that many of the people in Jerusalem certainly did come to hear the message, but many rejected that message, just like the religious and the government leaders. And so what we think about with John the Baptist is that giving tremendous long suffering for the Messiah. And he, just like he was there 6 months ahead of time, they're proclaiming the message, they're laying the groundwork for the coming of the Lord. So too, in a way, he is there leading in martyrdom, and showing that faith to God sometimes does and calls us to make the ultimate sacrifice in giving of our lives. And so in that message, we think about John the Baptist, the one who is willing to give even his life for the coming of the Lord. Thanks, and God bless.